Chapter 2 is a very exciting chapter on the evolution of human language. Not just how it came to be, but also how it continues to change over time. There are two major thematic elements that we're going to see repeated throughout the chapter. And these are two views that are conflicting in the literature that describe how we think the nature of language to be. The first is the nativist view. The nativist view basically holds that we evolved with some cognitive capacity that predisposes us to language. It basically suggests that we have some kind of cognitive structures in place. These are not brain structures, but rather something in our mind, not necessarily in our brain, but in our mind, that allows us to acquire language. Furthermore, this is a unique ability found only in humans, the capacity for language. As an alternative viewpoint, the anti-nativist view holds that humans continue to create language in society after society over and over again as a tool, using cognitive structures that are not specifically evolved for language, but rather that just lend themselves nicely to that solution. The common analogy that runs throughout the chapter that the author Sedivy comes back to several times is the analogy of an arrow. Evolving humans needed protein in order to survive and reproduce. Protein is very important, especially in brain development. And protein is mostly acquired in large quantities by killing and eating animals. So in order to get this protein, we could come upon many possible different solutions. The most common of which happens to be the bow and arrow. An arrow can be created and used to kill an animal and then to eat it. But there are other possible ways that you could kill an arrow: a stone in a sling, or brute force, hunting with stones and killing them in packs, stoning animals to death, whatever, right? There are any number of ways, but the bow and arrow was a very efficient manner of killing animals in an evolutionary environment. And because it's such a good solution, society after society happened upon that solution, but we could probably not feel comfortable with the argument that there is some cognitive structure that specifically evolved that predisposes humans to creating arrows. It's not like now in our modern environment, when somebody else is giving us proteins, that we still find ourselves creating arrows all the time, just because it's biologically driven into us, right? It's built into us, so we can't help ourselves. We're just always making arrows. No, that's not the case. Rather, it was a solution to a problem that just happened to be such an efficient, such a brilliant solution that we created that solution over and over again in society after society. By way of analogy, we can understand language to function in the same way. That language is not something we're predisposed to do, something that we just can't help ourselves but to make. Rather, we understand language in the anti-nativist view as something that is such a good solution that it is reinvented over and over in society after society, regardless of whether a set of people do or do not have language at the outset. Language will be created as a solution for social kinds of problems. And these two views right now are conflicting in literature. Both of them have a great deal of support in favor of them, but also some that suggest that either one of them couldn't be true. And so there's no way that we can resolve this this debate right now. But there are several points throughout the chapter that are made in favor of one or the other, and I will try to highlight those as we go, so that they become clear to you, and so that you could draw some kind of conclusion as to which you think is a more compelling argument.